Thomas Massie voted with Ilhan Omar to strip President Trump of his war powers today. The resolution was narrowly rejected by the House 214 to 213. Massie was confronted about being a traitor and essentially said he's fine with Iran having nukes because he has TDS. I'm sure that's what he...
Yeah, essentially.
It's probably a direct quote.
Essentially, he said
In
that.
fact, let's just go to the video and see how essentially he said that.
Why are you working with Ilhan Omar to limit President Trump's war powers and ability to protect Americans?
It's not President Trump's war powers.
It is. He's the president, right?
Yeah.
He's the president. He's commander-in-chief. So him being the commander-in-chief, he has the power.
Madison Wesley
Who's the president right now?
resides in Congress, and there's no more important authority that Congress has than the power to declare war or not. So this is not the president's authority. He has the authority and the obligation to wage the war, to conduct the war, but it's only Congress who can authorize.
But Ilhan Omar tweeted support for your resolution. Why are you working with her?
I translate, Iran can have nukes.
Did he say anything about Iran or nukes or anything in that clip? What? Hold on. Let me go back to what the essentially was in here. Massie was confronted about... Now, this was
caption. Shared with
this
the video.
Yeah. Massie was confronted about being a traitor and essentially said he's fine with Iran having nukes because he has TDS. This is the caption for the video.
Yeah, that's... I got exactly
Did you hear
that from the video.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah.
I heard it.
In fact, he said James Madison would agree with me.
Yeah.
James
Iran
Madison
should have nukes.
wants Iran to have nukes.
Yep.
That's what it is.
For sure. He was... Listen, Massie was totally right in his response on this. Immediately, he said it's not Trump's war powers. Congress has the power to declare war. This is not Trump's authority. He's got the authority to make war, to wage war, to command the military once we are in a state of war, once there's been authorization by the people of America via their representatives, once that has happened. And he's completely correct about that. And the same, I can't tell if they're trolling, if they just think it's something good to say, or if they're actually so retarded that they actually think it's a good point. But this constant, he sides with Democrats.
Well,
why are you working with Ilhan Omar?
I'll go
she
back.
retweeted a post in support of Massie. Why are you working with her?
I'll go back to my former point that maybe people are dumber than we thought. I try to think people are smarter than we think. Maybe some people are dumber than we thought, and this groupthink works. Mm-hmm. So if you are able to, especially people that don't know much about Thomas Massie, and then you're able to just put Thomas Massie in this box, which you've been trained to hate that box.
This box of people with TDS.
And now you just can slide Thomas Massie in there, even though it's not true. You slide him into that box, and people who don't know much, they're not going to do the research, they're not going to read past the tweet or the headline, are just oh man, Thomas Massie, how disrespectful of you to have an R next to your name.
Mm-hmm.
If you're with that
you just hate
Muslim
Trump,
Omar,
and you're just voting with that terrorist Ilhan Omar all the time.
Yep. That's how it works.
I posted this yesterday, and this is clearly obvious for anyone with the capability to think through it, or who will take the time to think through it. Maybe you haven't. Democrats vote against Trump. For instance, they voted to limit these war powers. I haven't even looked at the specific resolution. I don't know what the timeline was on it or anything. They voted to limit Trump on this war, not because they hate war. They don't hate war, and they definitely damn well don't care about the Constitution. At all. The Democrats. At all. All they care about is trying to vote against Trump. They hate Trump. That is why maybe some of them... No, never mind. Maybe some of them care about war. Okay, they don't care about the Constitution. We know that. Maybe some of them care about the war. Massie, and so that puts them on the side of the ledger that says at the top of it, in the mind of MAGA, against Trump. Okay. Massie knows the Constitution and knows its principles And also his principals tell him, well, I swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution when I took this job. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so he looks at the bill and he says, yeah, well, we have the power to declare war. War Powers Act says that we also could do an AUMF if we could do that, unless we're under attack. We're not under attack. Okay, there's been plenty of time for Congress to approve this war. And so it turns out, consistent with the Constitution, the vision of the Founding Fathers, these war powers need to be limited in whatever this bill was saying. And so he votes that way, which then in the mind of MAGA puts him in that column of against Trump. Okay. Now
that's because Trump legit wants to be a king with his knights at the round table that all say yes no matter what he does.
And so the two groups,
could you imagine back in feudal times if you were to be a Thomas Massie?
Yeah. Dead is what you'd be.
Yeah, exactly.
The two groups, or Massie and the Democrats, end up on the same side of that ledger, but for completely different reasons. It does not mean they're working together. It doesn't mean he sided with Democrats. Nothing like that. You just got to think for a minute. I know it's a lot. I know.
Think. It's hard.
Fed Galrine says Massie has stated that he votes with President Trump and the Republican agenda more than 90% of the time. However, recent voting records show a different story. Voters should review the record for themselves and compare public statements with the documented votes before Election Day. And so he puts out this thing. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. He opposed Trump's strike on Iran, and that's that's March 5th. Okay, so we know that. Voted against the SAVE Act. So there's like literal lies in this thing that drive me nuts. He didn't vote against the SAVE Act, okay, at all. There's a few dumb things in here, like look, he voted against, imagine this, Massie. Imagine Thomas Massie, freedom-loving patriot, he calls himself, but he voted against keeping small businesses open during COVID. He wanted to lock down all the small businesses and shutter them and just in favor of either some kind of, big corporation profit-making scheme or communism, either one. I don't know which one it was.
He was the only congressman in both parties to vote no.
He was. That's crazy.
Wow.
Because he was the only person who did not want to keep small businesses open during COVID. That is the only way you can look at this situation. It's the only way. This was actually on a bill that was like a supplemental to the CARES Act, where they added more funding because the CARES Act wasn't enough. They added more funding to the PPP loan program. Now, we know how much of a dang fraud scam the PPP program was, and they voted to add, I think, another the whole bill, I think, was like $400 billion or something. I don't remember exactly what it was now.
I thought it was in the trillions.
Well, the CARES Act was 2.2. This is another bill that came afterwards because they just didn't have enough PPP funding in that first bill. It all got used up in like 3 weeks. And so they had to do another one. And if you were against the government giving all these businesses money, that must mean that you wanted all those businesses to close. Or you thought that there was first off, a ton of fraud happening. It was a terrible program. There was billions and billions of dollars of fraud in this program. And there were alternative options that we could have done during this time, like not shutting down the country. That would have been one of the things.
Just allowing people to do business.
Anyway, there's all kinds of ridiculous things in here, and I'm putting together facts for a Thomas Massie video right now, and so this is very helpful. Fed Galrine, thank you for sending us.
I like that new name you gave him.
Yeah,
Fed Galrine.
Yeah, I might be one of the first to do it.
I was going to say,
we'll see.
Is that you, or did you hear that? Fed Galrine.
Yeah.
Fed faggot Galrine.
One more thing for 5, then we'll move really quick. Republicans who stay home elect Democrats. My response to this is that's bullshit. Okay, Republicans who govern like Democrats elect Democrats, and that's how that happens. Republicans who refuse to cut spending, who refuse to shrink the size of government, are worthless to me, except for the fact that they're still slightly better than Democrats. but that does not mean they've earned my vote. Okay? They just haven't. I'm not like sitting at home and Lacey's like, oh, what are we having for dinner? And I'm like, well, I could go to McDonald's because, I mean, it's freaking awful. It's better than Burger King. So I think we got to go. Let's leave. Let's get in the car. Let's go. Let's go to McDonald's. It is better than Burger King. And she'd be like, well, why don't we just stay home? There's no food here. No. What? You're electing Burger King. Okay, the analogy fell apart towards the end. So
you think Burger King's better than McDonald's just by staying home?
No, Republicans should do their job and earn people's votes. That's what they should do. I'm not going to be guilted into going and voting for them. They have not earned my vote. They have repeatedly failed to earn my vote. We took a chance in this last election, and you see how that went. So far, what it might get us is the only good Republican getting knocked out of office, and a war.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and a bunch more spending.
Like really, right now, the only Republican that's running the House, it would be that it actually has earned and deserves a vote would be Thomas Massie, who they're trying to destroy.
Okay, I'm skipping 6 because we are going longer here, and we haven't even gotten to Jesus. So we'll have to do the Trump Jesus thing now for number 7. So this is a AI generated painting that Donald Trump posted. He did delete, which I am shocked.
He did.
He deleted it.
He never deletes anything.
Uproar from people. I went on Truth Social to see what the comments were, and I scrolled through like 20 comments. They're all negative on Truth Social. So, yeah, we're gonna have to start getting on there and ratioing Trump on Truth Social. That's the actual way to get him to do things.
The angels up there look a little weird. There's one like demon looking one in the middle.
Like not entirely angelic there at the top, I would say. So this is a picture of him dressed in what he says is dressed like a doctor, helping people.
From 2,000 years ago.
in the way that doctors help people, which is typically
lay their hands on
them. They put their glowing hands on them, and people are praying to the doctor while they're doing it, and there's eagles in the background.
No, that's Trump portraying himself as Jesus.
And the person they're helping looks like Jon Stewart, and that's just what.
Why is Jon Stewart sick?
Because he's got TDS. He's trying to cure him of his TDS is what's happening. Okay. Spike Cohen had posted this thing saying, like, listen, y'all on the right, you know that your response, if this had been Biden or Obama or whoever else that posted themselves clearly in what many would say looking like Jesus, everyone would be flipping out. 25th Amendmenting, storming the castle right now. Okay. Which you can do because Trump said he would pardon anyone who came within 200 feet of the Oval. So you make it to that Oval?
Pardon. Didn't do anything wrong.
I'll say that's game. But this person says, here's why it's different with Trump. And this is real. I went through their page to make sure it was real. This person says, that's because Trump is anointed and Biden is not anointed. Trump was rightfully elected and he has been given an authority and purpose for this nation from God. And Trump is healing the nation from what Biden did to destroy. So yes, it would not be the same for a Democrat.
No, sorry, Democrat.
Oh, Democrat. Yeah, sorry.
It's not the same for a Democrat.
I missed that one. People being hypocritical, Jack Posobiec, blasphemous with George Floyd as Jesus, and then making fun of people that are upset of Trump posting the Jesus meme. But then we get, that's Massie. That's not Trump. Let's get to, Jesus. Let's get to Trump's comments on this. Here we go.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example, the 11,000, I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's
He
going
has
through
cancer.
some very serious cancer treatment, so
Yes, sir.
this goes a long way.
Yes, sir. It sure does.
I'm a doctor.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how people came up. Only the fake news could come up.
Only the fake news.
Only fake news could come up with this looking like Jesus.
That's it.
That, and by the way, that worked for a lot of people. The tune shifted. It shifted. You could watch it. It's so crazy to watch it happen
In real time.
in real
on
time.
X.
Starting with it's a joke. Maybe it's too far. It's a meme. Stop being a snowflake or whatever it is you're upset about, to shifting to like, obviously it was him as a doctor. What are you even talking about? And so
Yeah, with glowing hands.
he was glowing hands with the robe and everything.
Now, look, I don't care if Trump posts that. I mean, I'm not going to see an AI generated image of. I'm not sure. I don't think Trump probably even created it. It probably somebody created it and he saw it and was like, "Oh, cool," and he posted it.
No, weirdly enough, a version of that without the demons at the top had been going around for a couple months. They just added the demon, so or whatever it is. I'm told that's not what it is.
As a Christian, I don't even see it as blasphemous. Like whatever, it's just it's an AI generated image. But then to flip around, if Trump would have been like, "Oh yeah, I posted that. I thought it was funny. This was going around the internet, and I see myself as a healer for the nation. So yeah, I'm not." And then he said like, I don't think I'm Jesus. I just saw it going around and thought it was. That would have been a perfectly fine explanation. But for him to flip and say, "I thought I was a doctor." No, you didn't. There's no way. That's the thing that
is worse. I agree with you. It's worse.
So much worse.
If he just would have been truthful. I thought it was funny. Didn't really think it through. It was late. I was fighting with the Pope. And so I thought I would, he was fighting with the Pope earlier this week and over the weekend. So
I would one up him.
Yeah, I thought I would post a meme of me as Jesus,
You guys take this stuff too seriously.
Yeah, but I took it down because obviously a lot of people were offended, and I'm sorry for the people that were offended. It's a sensitive subject, religion, I'm told, and so let's move on to talking about the economy. No, to lie about it. Franklin Graham.
Also, here's the thing: why would it be inappropriate to depict yourself as Jesus Christ?
As Jesus. Like healing people.
I mean, yeah. If you depict yourself, yeah.
Like
I guess
performing
if
a
you're
miracle.
I'm the second coming. But look, in the Christian belief, the whole idea is you are drawing closer to God, so that the Holy Spirit takes over more of your life, and you're more like Jesus every day. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
the whole point is to point to Jesus.
So it's like an artistic representation of Jesus working through you, and you're trying to help people.
It could be.
I think you should put it back up. Honestly.
I
I wasn't offended by it. Like if it's wrong to post that, that's between him and God. You know? That's not I'm more worried about the war and the economy and stuff like that. I get it, but I never considered Trump to be some kind of super religious person. Obviously, clearly, I don't think anyone did. And so what about the actual things that are getting done? I saw a little bit of distraction, but then coming out and lying about it, that just makes it so much worse.
Yeah,
you're right, totally right about that.
That's the worst part.
Just like Franklin Graham. Ever heard of him before?
We wrote this with ChatGPT.
He said, "I have received some questions about President Donald Trump's recent posts, and here are my thoughts. I do not believe President Trump would knowingly depict himself as Jesus Christ. That would certainly be inappropriate."
That's my thing. Why? I mean, if you depict yourself as Jesus and say like, "I am the second Christ, I've been sent,"
that's an issue.
Yeah,
then
maybe that would be an issue. But just to other people wore robes like that 2,000 years ago. That was the clothing.
Yeah, but they didn't have glowing hands like Jesus.
That's true. Neither did Jesus.
I know,
Jesus didn't
I
have
know,
glowing
that's what I'm
hands
saying.
either.
I know.
He had holes in his hands.
He says, I'm thankful the president has made it very clear that it drives me nuts that he is getting in on the lie. It's worse that he is getting in on the lie instead of just doing like what Charlie was doing, which is, trying to rationalize it. Something, let's actually have the argument. Is it in fact wrong to post yourself clearly depicted as Jesus? But instead he's saying like, oh, I don't think Trump would do it if he thought it looked like Jesus. He definitely thought it was a doctor, which many people are pointing out. If you look at that and you're like, oh, a doctor. Yeah, it looks like a doctor for sure. Maybe that's a bigger problem than posting the Jesus picture. Maybe you're getting a little old, getting a little up there in years if you looked at that and that's what you thought. Let me see here. I'm thankful the president has made it very clear that this was not at all what he thought the AI-generated image was representing. He thought it was a doctor helping someone, and when he learned of the concerns, he immediately removed the post. The concerns, you see, it's all the people who thought that looked like Jesus that got this wrong. Okay. When I looked at the illustration, I didn't jump to the same conclusion as some. There were no spiritual references, no halo. There were no crosses. There were no angels. It was a flag, soldiers, a nurse, fighter planes, eagles, the Statue of Liberty. And I think this is a lot to do about nothing. There's so much ill-intended speculation. I think his enemies are always foaming at the mouth at any possible opportunity to make him look bad, just like they were with Jesus. No, sorry, I added that last part. I think he didn't mention, it's just like there's a patient there. There's a patient. There's maybe a nurse, soldiers, planes, Statue of Liberty. There's eagles. His hands are glowing. There's nothing really super religious about this. And the illustration from someone else he reposted on Truth Social yesterday, I must say that I like the fact that this is a picture of Jesus whispering in his ear. This is another one he posted with Jesus behind him, like was whispering in his ear. All right, I'll skip over the rest of what he had to say because we got one more thing to do here, which I didn't bring up, and that is Elon Musk's post, which I believe was from last night. And I've got it open right here. And I'm not going to have time to fully go into this thing today. I've got a lot of thoughts on the AI thing and robots taking people's jobs and how that's going to affect the economy. But Elon Musk posted out universal high income via checks issued by the federal government is the best way to deal with unemployment caused by AI. AI robotics will produce goods and services far in excess of the increase in the money supply, so there will not be inflation. Boy, there's a couple things here. Checks issued by the federal government. Okay, so he's either talking about just printing money, which he knows via Doge. There's a whole lot of money printing going on. Okay, he's either talking about just printing money and giving people that money and then claiming that that's not going to cause any inflation because the robots are going to make everything. Of course, those people were making things, but he's saying that the robots, I guess, are going to make way more than the people. But then I have questions like who's going to consume all of that extra product that's going to be out there? How is that going to happen when so many people are losing their jobs because of this? Well, they're going to be able to consume the product because they're getting the money from the federal government. But how's the federal government get that money? They're either going to tax it or borrow it, or they're going to print it from people. This is literally the meme of, well, it's not even a meme. I just posted a picture. Like, this is the economic policy. It's a surge protector or a power strip plugged into itself. And that's what we're talking about doing here. Now, sure, there's a little bit of outside source of power. Might be a little bit too simple. But when I see these ideas that like, oh, we're just going to use tax money and printed money to pay people who lost their jobs because of AI or because of robotics, I'm like, okay, where are you getting that money? You're going to either tax those businesses, which those businesses, they get their money by selling products to people, but the people are losing their jobs. And so how are the people going to buy those products? Well, they're going to use the printed or the tax money from the corporation to buy those products. Yes, it's very obviously going to create inflation. There's still a very big imbalance here. And the only way this can actually happen, not the universal basic income, the idea that robots or AI is going to take over stuff, it's going to have to be very slowly so the economy can adjust over time. Like, there is a very severe limiting factor on this whole thing because if you're just going to say, get rid of everyone, like let's say like a bunch of business, half the businesses say, we're going to get rid of everyone and we're just going to use robots. And that's how we're going to make our products. Well, the problem is you just fired a bunch of your consumers. You just hurt the economy a ton. So what's the good in getting the robots to make the stuff? The robots also cost money for you to get. What's the good in doing that if then you have no one to buy your stuff because the economy is tanked and you can't sell your goods and services to people because no one has any money? Like, well, we're going to give them money by taxing us, but we only have money that came from them in the first place. Like, it's the whole thing. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out. There's no way that UBI is not going to cause massive inflation. The universal basic income, or setting the floor in the amount of money that each person has, is going to make that the new zero for everyone. That is the way it's going to work. And the government doing this is going to make it even worse than what I'm even describing right now. They're going to do it even more inefficiently than what we're even talking about in this moment. Okay? And then that's going to be the new zero. They're going to have all other kinds of ways they're screwing up the economy before that. And we're already $40 freaking trillion in debt to start. And we're just going to start printing money or taxing more money to actually give to all of these people to go and buy products and services. And that's not going to create inflation. So sad to see. That's my very quick response to this. I only saw it right before we started the show, and we'll have to spend some more time on the UBI thing. The more interesting part of this, which I do need to spend more time thinking about and then explaining, is the robotics will produce goods and services in excess of the increase of the money supply, so there will not be inflation. That's going to take me more time to talk about right now. We're already at an hour and 6 minutes plus the 21 minutes that we spent hanging out beforehand. So now it's time for us to get our votes in. Let's go through, see what we got in here. Let me get to the voting channel. Everyone will get your votes in. We've got Socialist. That was AOC and with the kid for the first one, and a few other socialist things. And then we've got Mamdani for number 2 with the grocery stores. And then we got Elizabeth Warren with the $0 paid in taxes, number 3. Number 4, that post about adoption, like it'd just be better to have an abortion than to put a kid up for adoption. That's awful. And then we've got number 5, the video, Thomas Massie from the dude who works for Loomer. And then number 6, we didn't go through. It was a bunch of posts about people having Israel derangement syndrome, posts about the woke right, some James Lindsay and Jeremy Boring stuff, and just didn't have time because I got to go, is actually what's going on right now. So number 7 is the Trump Jesus meme, or Trump as a Red Cross doctor. That's another way of looking at it, I guess, that some people have. So anyway, go get those votes in. Go to joingmail.com, hang out with the Fed Haters Club. Go to GodHatesFeds.com, get yourself a God Hates Feds shirt. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, comment. And if you're listening right now still on your podcast app, there will be a link in the show notes. It's late to tell you for this episode, but there's links in the show notes that take you directly to our YouTube channel. There's specific playlists on there. So if you want to watch all the dumb bleeps of the weeks or specific clips, stuff like that, or some of our favorite videos, watch it. It's good to see our faces. See what it actually look like. I think that'd be a good thing for you to do. So what we got right now, let's actually go, and I'm going to pull a tiebreaker and call Trump the winner the Jesus. And it really, I just want to clarify. I thought it was ridiculous to post what he posted. Sure, I did. It is the line afterwards. Like, why do that? Why can't you accept that you did something wrong? It's such a weird thing that I guess what people like this worry is that if they accept that they did something wrong, that'll make them less powerful. Or if they accept that they're giving in because people were right or whatever, then that makes them less powerful. But wouldn't that make people trust you more when you actually come out and said that you made a mistake? This is just something that, it's not that I don't understand why politicians won't do it. It's why I don't understand that more people don't demand that from politicians. I mean, the politicians are reacting, I guess, to the way that people react, like what works on people. That's their job, is to manipulate and play the people all the time. And so there's a reason that they do this. But admit that you made a mistake, you deleted it, you took it down, you thought it was funny, you were fighting with the Pope and you posted it, and now that you had some more time to think about it, you take the concerns of your followers seriously, and you don't want to have something up that would offend them like that. And that is just such a better answer. But then to come out and lie about it, say that you thought you look like a doctor, makes it maybe seem like you're senile. And so that's a problem. And you're also a liar. And then to watch people go along with that just makes the whole situation so much worse. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I'll be back here again on Monday to see what happens this weekend. And man, we didn't really talk about the war today. That's pretty cool. Just a little bit of War Powers Act stuff. But that was nice to not talk about the war today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Everyone have a great weekend. Do everything that I just said to do, every single thing that I just said to do. And if you do all of that, we'll be back here again on Monday. Till then, have a good weekend and a good morning, Liberty.